It's all about peace, spreading love in the world. So I gotta represent rebels for joy, positivity. You know that we're all about it. Magic happens when you align your purpose, passion, and power. Just believe in your greatness. I know for sure the light that you radiate too strong to ignore. Emotional revolution. It's time that we start. Love, we need more. We are rebels for joy. Woo!
Hello, Rebels. How are you? Welcome back to Rebels for Joy. This is Jillian, and I am actually in interview mode. I am here with my soul sister, Tory Doobie Lloyd. Hello, my love.
Hello.
How are you?
Here. I'm amazing.
You are amazing. And that's an actual fact because you are an actual amazing human being who I'm so grateful to have in my life. And I'm so grateful to get to share you on the podcast. You're actually one of the very first interviews that we're doing. And I just couldn't be more thrilled about that because girl, we've been through some stuff over the past, even just the past year, and have witnessed each other's transformations in massive, massive ways. And you are just such an inspiration to me. So I'm so grateful that you're here. I know.
Love you.
Love
People
you.
can't see our faces, but we're gazing lovingly at one another.
It's like the stargaze, lovers vision there. Hey, I've got a joke for you to kick this off. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm nervous.
Why can't your ear be 12 inches long?
Because then it'd be a foot.
Shut up. You actually got it.
I was a nanny for so long. I mean, you're around kids too. I feel like I know all of these kindergarten jokes.
You're actually brilliant because I think you're the first person that's ever actually gotten one of the silly little jokes that we do, and I love it so much. That's excellent. Yes, and so speaking of kids, thank you for saying that. We are recording this on a snow day here in Maine, and I have both my tiny humans in the room next to me, and so we are going to do our very best to get through this. They are currently occupied, but Lord knows what will happen with the tiny humans, and we will try our best to edit all the things, but also let's just keep it real and actually live life with each other. And then for you listening, this is life. This is what we do. We pivot, we shift, we get to call in joy. And I sent you a message this morning, they're home. I refuse to lose joy over this. I was planning for them to be at school and they're not, and that's okay. So there we go. That will set the stage for this, won't it?
Yep.
So, all right, Tory, give us a snapshot into who is Tory? What do you do? What do you stand for? What do you love? All of the things. And then we're going to get into joy talk and real, what's really rocked your world in the past and how you've reclaimed it and all the things. So who's Tory?
This conversation is so timely because
yeah.
So I ran my own business for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then this year I shut down my business and joined a company.
Yeah.
So, okay, my name is Tory Doobie. I just got married in October. So Tory Doobie Lloyd, got a new little name on the end of my name. And I live in San Diego with my husband and my puppy.
Mm-hmm.
And ran my own business for 5 years, and joy was absolutely at the epicenter of what we did. We used food, movement, positive psychology to build epic businesses.
Yeah.
And so why I'm really obsessed with this conversation is being a solopreneur. Mm-hmm. I had a lot of entrepreneurs who were doing this thing by themselves, but I also had a lot of corporate clients who would be like, yeah, but what do I do when I'm surrounded by so many people? What do I do when there's so many people on my team? What do I do when I can't control the attitudes, the energies of everybody else? And I got to live that this year, and I'm constantly living it right now. And so seeing all of my philosophies in action with having no control over all of my other teammates, I was the director of sales this past year.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was such a very literal manifestation of how much fun can I have and how much money can it turn into despite all of the odds, despite the fact that XYZ wasn't in place, mm-hmm. despite the fact that everybody else is losing their mind, they're all stressed out, despite the fact that it's over the holidays and we have a revenue goal to hit and nobody wants to talk to me and so I had to stand in the joy
mm-hmm.
when 99% of the rest of my life was not working and just hold so just trust in it. Like our friend Amber says, like titanium trust.
Mm-hmm.
That was my past year. And it was incredible. And guess what? The joy won out. Like it did every single time. The joy went out. I didn't even answer your question.
No, but it's so good because now I'm like, okay, because if I'm a listener right now, I'm like, well, why? Why did you have to stand in that joy? If everything else was falling apart around you, then why make that choice? Why work so damn hard for joy and not let yourself just like be in the moment of like everything else that felt like it was kind of in like WTF world?
Totally. So I think there's a misconception that you need to be like positive Polly and ignore what's happening and not face reality. But we also have to understand that we're creating reality as we go. We're paving the next 2-3 steps ahead of us. So there were absolute times I had worked myself up into such a state of anxiety that I would cry in the morning before work start. I would dry heave. My boss would text me and say, hey, I love you. I'm grateful for you. And I'd be in a rage. I'd throw my phone across the room and be like, don't text me, because I just had worked myself up in such a state of anxiety because the pressure was just so high. So I'm not saying that I was like dancing around like a fairy, but I'd move through it. I'd move the energy. I'd acknowledge it. I go, okay, what is this thing I'm feeling? Okay. And then I would always, like once I had the moment, I would land at a fork in a road and I would say, okay, my choice is to continue feeling this awful or make a micro choice, like not some big from now forever, I'm going to be happy, but just in this exact moment, a micro choice. Do I choose for the next 1 minute, next 10 minutes, next half an hour to try to have fun, to look on the bright side, to try to find gratitude? And it was literally a million of those every single day.
Thank you so much for saying that, because I think that people have this conception of joy is like, it's like a one-stop shop. And like, once you're there forever or that you're there for a long period of time. But like, we forget that like, we've got life to work with and through, and there's a lot of different dynamics. I was just talking with a client and she was like, I just wish I could like go somewhere and be quiet and not have anybody talk to me forever and ever. And I was like, yeah, wouldn't that be nice? But like, also then you wouldn't get to do life with humans, like, and especially the humans that you love. So sometimes it is that like second to second choice. And like, we have that opportunity. So what was keeping you there, right? Like if everything was feeling so awful and you had to choose to, really create joy moment to moment, what was the thing that was like the driving force for you saying, okay, but this is actually where I want to be?
Yeah. And when you're in that moment, like our natural inclination is just to go abort. What can I do to get away from this feeling?
Totally.
So I had to check in like every single day and say, if I were to believe that this is happening for me and not to me, I'm not saying I believed it yet, but if I were just to humor that idea, what would that look like? And I would always end up, okay, at least I'm growing. I have such an immense amount of pressure on me. So really, literally what was happening is I was responsible for $500,000 of revenue a month. But without a marketing team, without like any sort of system set in place, really only hoping that unicorns would fly through and that the stars would align. So
I was pretty much what I'd be looking at if I were looking at that, right? Like you got to call in the shooting star that brings all the sparkles and butterflies with it.
Yeah. And so that's all I had. Yeah. But I have a whole team of 25 people. Literally, I'm paying their paycheck with this money. And so the pressure was it just felt immense. Like it never left me. I dreamt about it. I woke up and I felt it. I just felt the weight of all of it. And it felt like I was just in a washing machine. Like I didn't know what was my head, what was my butt, what were I just didn't know. Yeah. And I had started squeaking up further and further away from my joy and from my essence. Like Jillian, you know me, I dance around the house, I sing. I used to always be on my Instagram, like making people laugh. I literally didn't know who that person was.
Yeah. I mean, one of your superpowers is just being so real and silly and raw and making people laugh. Like you have the superpower of gifting the other people joy just by being in your presence. And you're right. Like that that was not the main focus on Insta stories anymore, right? Like it just wasn't for a bit.
No, I just was gone because like we always say, when my cup was empty, I had nothing to give. But I couldn't even conceptualize who that person was. I was like, how did that person dance around the house? What is there ever to talk about on social media?
Yeah.
I just didn't even know who that person was. But you gotta forget to remember. So it was such a blessing to forget in such a big, painful way, because we're really playing big to get the feedback, right?
Yeah.
I needed to get the feedback of, okay, living in this immense state of stress without boundaries, without asking for really basic pillars of support from other people. I just was holding it by myself and thinking I had to do it all by myself. And it had to get to such a point where I was physically having a reaction, dry heaving and crying and vomiting, that I went, okay, it's time to ask for some help.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have even known what to ask for help for unless I was in the washing machine for so long. So that feedback helped me articulate what I need. But then I also had to be brave enough to call in the troops and say, hi, friends, my biggest, like our destination where we all want to end up, I need help from all of you in all of these specific ways for us to get there.
Powerful,
Yes.
because, and you just said a couple things that I want to touch upon. Boundaries. So Bonnie and I are huge on boundaries. I actually call Bonnie the boundary queen. Like she teaches and coaches around setting boundaries so beautifully. It's something that we go into in our year-long program in like the deepest of depths. And it's just, it's been presented to me in different light, right? Like we typically see boundaries, like when we usually set boundaries in a deeply emotional state and we throw it up and it's like, thou shalt not pass. And it's kind of like, I've had it. But actually, when we allow ourselves to assert really beautiful, cohesive boundaries that are good for everybody, it comes from an unemotional place where you can like have the negotiation and the conversation around it. And it gives you that opportunity to really look at what you need and then ask for what you need, as opposed to like throwing up the brick wall and just saying, I'm freaking not doing it anymore. And so thank you for sharing that, because we do, like, don't we all do this? To the listener, don't we all do this? We go through times in our life where it's just like, go, 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 hamster wheel, so much pressure. And then like we have that breakdown or the thing that happens and we just can't do it anymore. And so for you to be able to say, okay, I got to the enough is enough point, but that was the thing that helped me to say, this is actually what I need. And then for you to then say like, but I didn't even know what I needed. So I needed to really like tap in and ask for it. That is, I mean, all of my friends, all of my clients, like everybody knows that my biggest thing is ask for what you need. Ask for what you need. And for the love of all things holy, please let that be aligned with what you want. Like be brave enough to ask for what you want, because I know so many of our listeners, I know so many of the people in our lives are just so busy and they are scared. They don't even want to look at what they want because they are predetermining that they can't have it. So
yeah.
When you, and you're just walking us through this so eloquently, like this amount of work, this amount of newness in life was really robbing you of joy. Like you were losing it in all sorts of places. So now we're kind of at the step where it's like, how did you reclaim it? Like, what did you do for yourself? The boundaries and the asking for help, obviously, but like, give us some more essence to what was going on during this time period, because this is the stuff that matters. Like you've learned how to reclaim it, if even moment by moment, but you took it back into your control.
Yes. So I'm going to literally tell you what I did. So
Perfect.
I figured out what I needed and I wrote them as bullet points and rules. And I passed them on to the leadership team and to my bosses and said, this is what I need. We had a meeting about it. We all agreed. We love it. So there, I already felt heard. I felt like I basically, I just felt like I built a little house around myself so I could be successful. So that was honestly quite simple. Once I could identify what I needed based on what I didn't already have, I just needed to communicate it and literally write it out and create like an SOP, like a process around it.
Yeah.
So everybody was on the same page. That was first. So then my stress started to go down a little bit and I had more access to me. And then I was like, okay, I have to remember that joy and happiness is curated.
Yes.
It's not, it doesn't just fall on you. Like you have to go out and create it. So I then implemented a rule that every day to decompress after work, I bring the dog to the park and I walk around without headphones and I just like take a beat, even if it's only 10 minutes that I don't have any technology. Like I just ground, reconnect, let go of work. So that was step one. And then I just slowly started to come back to myself. So then over Christmas break, I got super deep into what I know heals me. So I'm not saying you have to do this, but I know that meditation and energy work, like those move the needle forward for me in a big way. So I'm a super huge Joe Dispenza fan. And so I still, to this day, have been waking up at 3:30, 4:30 in the morning to do my hour-long meditation. And I'm curating those feelings of joy, of expectation, of like just understanding how held I am by something bigger, expecting something miraculous to come through. Like, you know, that feeling before you go on vacation where like nothing can touch you because you're just like, something's coming. It's going to be amazing. Like we can curate that every day. Every day we can go, something awesome's going to happen today. And then even if nothing, quote, awesome happened that day, the day feeling like that was awesome. Like you win no matter what. So every morning I've been religious about sticking to that. Sure, there are some days I can't get up and there are some days I pick a shorter meditation, but pretty much sticking to that. And over that Christmas break, I just had a lot of physical work to do. So let me explain this. So,
oh, look, we have a visitor. Oh, cool, buddy. So funny. Gosh. We interrupt this depth of joy curation soliloquy with 3-year-olds celebration about whatever they're playing on the iPad.
Oh my gosh, his little voice. I'm winning.
We're winning. Oh my gosh. So I love it so much. And I want to stop you. Thank you, Andrew, for coming in. And because I had a question there. Joe Dispenza. I love Joe Dispenza. Would you recommend Joe or other types of work for people that are like, okay, all right, I've heard enough about this meditation thing. I've pushed it away long enough. I've assumed that it works for everyone else and not for me for eons and eons. Maybe I should actually give it a try. What would you personally recommend? Like, would Joe Dispenza be a good place to start? I know that what my recommendations are, but I love hearing other people's perspectives and all the things. So share, please.
Yes. So it totally depends on how you lean. So I like science a lot. I'm very woo, but I love being empowered by the science.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just gives me something concrete to hold on to. So my actual suggestion would be watch Joe Dispenza YouTube videos of him teaching first, not necessarily jump into like a 30-minute, 45-minute, hour-long meditation, because that's always going to stop you from meditating if you think you have to block out that much time. But watch his videos about him teaching. He's so great at breaking down these physiological and biological principles. And there's so many success stories. And like, once you've built that belief that it works, you're so much more likely to want to try it.
Totally.
Then for dipping your toe into meditation, I love the Calm app. And I love anything Cory Mascara.
Okay.
So Cory Mascara, the most darling human being on the planet. He lives in Long Island. He was a monk for a period of time. And now he just teaches meditation in real life day to day. He has a Long Island accent. He's so accessible. Yeah. He's so darling. I think he has meditations on a couple apps, but he talks about practicing human. And that's what we're doing, right? We're just practicing being human. We come to this planet to just like play the earth game and practice this human game. And so he's just so accessible. So I totally recommend anything Cory Mascara. He does like 5 to 10 minute meditations and they just feel so accessible. And then the Calm app, I use that all the time. Yeah. They're just 10 minutes every day. And she's narrating and talking you through it. So it's not like you need to sit for 45 minutes to an hour to start feeling the benefits. But I would recommend looking up Joe to just like hear how he talks about how powerful this stuff is. Cause it's not just like calm your mind. Like that is like 0.0005 of all of the magic that's actually happening in your body.
Yeah.
Like our bodies are so incredible, and our capacity to heal our bodies is so incredible. And Joe just like paints that picture so vividly.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So make note here, friends, and we'll put all that in the show notes too, because I totally agree. Just the merging that Joe Dispenza does of the science and the mystic, it's just so beautiful. And it's like, it just makes sense, right? And so much of meditation, you can't really put words around because it doesn't make logical sense. It makes real heartfelt embodiment sense, which is where I tend to go. But I love, like, the nerd in me is like, I love that this is actually backed by science too. So thank you. Thank you. Can we hop back into your story? So you wrote it down. You asked for what you needed. You wrote it down, you got clear with yourself, and then you asked for what you needed, and then you set a rule. I love that you said that you set a rule to go for a walk and ground yourself without technology. Friends, sometimes it literally comes down to, what are my values? What are my principles? How can I create rules around them? And whether that means plugging your phone in a different room at 8 p.m., no questions asked, so you don't look at it when you're in bed. Or if it means like going for a walk without technology, no questions asked after work. Yeah, we want to think that that can be just a natural thing that we can just suddenly assume. But like for me, if it's not something that I kind of declare as a rule, then I let myself slide, because I haven't established it as that, like, no, I have committed to this. Because really a rule is a commitment to yourself.
Yep.
So you set the commitment with yourself, and then that led you back into the thing that really rejuvenates you and helps you to get back to you, which is the meditation, which is having that connective moments. What happened after that? Because this is like joy reclamation. There's the word. 101. So what next?
So I had realized that my body had become my brain, and this happens to all of us because everything is moving so quickly. It's very easy to be in a constant state of stress, like driving to work with traffic, and then you get to work and your boss already has stuff on your desk for you to do, and you got an angry email from a client, like whatever it is. It's so easy to be in a constant state of stress. And what happens is our body becomes our mind. Our body starts to have a habitual response, and it hops in before we can logically process something. So remember I said my boss would text me, I love you, I'm so grateful for you. And my illogical response would be like, F you, and throw my phone across the room and be like, don't text me. Which, like, it's just because my body was so used to feeling anxious seeing my boss's name that it would flare up and go,
Yeah.
So I had to have that realization and go, oh my gosh, it's not even my boss, it's me. Like it was so
crap.
me. But the best part about it being you is you can do something about it.
Totally.
So I had to, bit by bit, slowly train my body to take a breather for a second. And when I would have that flare up of anxiety or stress, I would just sit there. I wouldn't do anything yet. And I would just acknowledge, this is just my body. My body's just having a physiological response. And I would sit and I would breathe and I would just let it pass, which could be like a 5-second thing.
Yeah.
And then I would respond. And that's like all we're practicing with meditation, right? Is just that space between stimuli and the response. So then meditation in life and living is just stimuli. Okay, let it settle for a second. Take a beat, take a breath. Let me thoughtfully, intentionally think of how I want to respond and then move from there. And then eventually you build up that musculature. You build up those neural pathways where now you're more habitually responding in an intentional way instead of responding in that very anxiety, stress-induced way.
Amazing.
So,
yes,
amazing.
amazing.
It happened so quickly. So that was over Christmas break. I came back to work, a new woman. I have no physiological triggers with my team anymore. It's just like gone. Like I just made the decision in my bod. Like we are not living life like this. Let's have fun. And my body listened because I believed it could. And like, what was that? Like 1 week? It was 1 week. And we're like, oh, we're good. Doesn't mean every day is easy, but I'm just not in the washing machine anymore.
Right. And I'm so glad that you literally broke down, like it was a week, like you gave yourself a week. And so to our amazing listener who is taking this on and being like, oh my gosh, that all sounds so magical. It does not take so much time for you to get back into alignment with the truth of you if you will just simply allow yourself the grace and the space to do it. And we get it, right? Like stuff's going to come up and there's so much that the whole world is demanding of us. But Tory, you said it earlier, that's all well and good, but if you can't show up and if you can't give because you've got nothing to give from, it's just going to perpetuate that feeling of joylessness, and we get to reclaim that at any moment. So holy guacamole, thank you for sharing all of that with us.
Absolutely. My husband and I actually play a game. So like if you toss that whole story out the window, and it just comes to this game. So he's in law school and studying for the bar. So he is very, very, very stressed. We just play a game. We text one another and we say, what would it look like if today was really fun? And then that just becomes the focal point. And it's not to insult the fact that whatever you're doing, it could actually be really stressful, or it speaks nothing to what the thing actually is. We're just asking this curious question. What could it look like to have fun? And usually the answers are just like having a smile on my face, just being extra kind, holding the door for somebody in the office. Like it's really silly little things. But if you ask yourself, how could this be fun right now? You'll get little tidbits of ideas about how it could be fun. And if you just focus on that, all of a sudden you're having fun.
Yeah. It's like what you said earlier, like even if you get to the end of the day and nothing spectacular happened, but you had spent the whole day with the intention of having fun and just having more joy and being more in your body and wanting to be there, then wasn't that worth it? Like it's like, that's the point anyway. Like, yay, cool, amazing if rainbows and butterflies do show up by the end of the day, but like also if not, and you spent the whole day just choosing fun, finding fun in those little moments, you're still having a really good time.
Yeah. I mean, this is a little woo, but I also think that the more of it's energy attracts like energy, right? So the more we stay in that space, even if something insane, spectacular didn't happen that day, I feel like I'm a little closer to something insane, spectacular happening because I operated at that wavelength all day. And it's the law of the universe. You have to be met at that wavelength. Something has to pop. So
yeah, that's where like, I'm like, yes, oh my gosh. Can we like, please talk for another hour and a half about that? Because like, like that's just that's like my bread and butter. And unfortunately we are going to be like bringing this podcast episode to an end after such amazing nuggets here, but we do have an announcement to make, don't we?
yes.
You actually have the opportunity to see Tory live at the Rebels for Joy live event, Dream Bigger, in May in Sacramento. And it's going to be outlandishly, amazingly phenomenal. And Tory, like to know that you're going to be in that space with me, being able to stand on that stage, sharing your wisdom, sharing your gifts with other women, I'm just like beyond grateful. I'm beyond excited. I know that everyone who is listening right now is like, I need to get my tickets right now, Sacramento, California, May 29th and 30th. You're going to be there. I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh, I'm so stoked. So we didn't even touch on it, but I have a process that I've been teaching for like 5 years.
Yeah.
That we'll be doing at the event.
Excellent.
Really tight. You can do it every morning. I've done it every morning for years and years. And I still have women. I would guess like 100,000 people have tried this at this point.
Yeah.
I still have people messaging me going, I'm still doing my process. And I just got, this came through and this money just happened and I just got the job. And so I'm really excited to teach everybody what that process is. And I guarantee that something will pop for you like within a couple of days of trying it.
Oh yeah. No, for Tory in past lives, but obviously she's brought it into her current life and her current situation. She has you've taught me so much about manifestation and really owning that, like, I actually am a magic manifester and we can do all of this and nothing's hard. Like if I want something, I can literally allow myself to create it. And so, yes, I'm so excited because that's just going to pique the interest of everyone listening. I have done what Tory is talking about and it is magical. She is magical. And yeah, she's going to be with us at the Dream Bigger event in May. So you all know the drill. Go get your tickets at rebelsforjoy.com, and there will be more coming out. But we're actually utilizing this episode as like the big announcement for like you'll see it on social media everywhere now that this is going to be launched. And this is like the big reveal. So Tory Doobie Lloyd at Dream Bigger, and we're so excited.
Oh my gosh. Great singing, Jay.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I was working on it just for you. Okay, Tory, in wrapping up, we love to ask our guests to just say, I am a rebel for joy. And I would love for you to just let us know, maybe in a sentence or two, what being a rebel for joy means to you. And then just declaring it, because for all of us, we get to be that entity that it feels rebellious to be the truth of who we are. And it feels rebellious sometimes to choose joy over choosing the easy of the hard and the mundane and all of that stuff. So we are just so excited to have you as part of our sisterhood, have you as part of this whole movement with us. So what does being a rebel for joy mean to you? And if you could declare it, I would freaking love it.
Oh my gosh. I am absolutely a rebel for joy. I don't even know if there's a statement that describes me better than that.
I don't think there is. It is you.
Yes. And so, very just specifically in my life, like a rebel for joy for me in this flavor of life is just, regardless of the metrics of the evidence of whatever else we want to distract ourselves and tell us ourselves that, joy isn't available right now. It's just having that steadfast belief, absolute trust, radical responsibility with always veering back towards joy.
Amazing. Amazing mic drop. You're incredible. We're going to put that quote all over the entire universe with your name attached to it. And I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful for your friendship. I'm so grateful for your wisdom and your keen sense and ability to teach it in such an approachable, beautiful way. And I'm so excited to see you in California in just a couple months from recording this. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. I love you. I'm so excited to have you all in California with me.
I know. Yeah, because Tory lives in California, friends. So come on over, rebelsforjoy.com, grab your tickets. And girlfriend, we will see you soon.